The 15 best teams in the world just secured their spot at the $2 million Fortnite Global Tournament in Belgium. And with a brand new season, pros are looking for new opportunities to qualify for globals in the FNCS Major 2. So today, we're taking a look at all the new duos, where pros are dropping on the brand new map, and what the rest of the year looks like for competitive Fortnite. During the Major 1 Summit LAN, Epic announced a massive change to the competitive format for the rest of the year. Instead of having 3 majors and a global championship, Epic decided to replace Major 3 with a last chance qualifier for globals the day after Major 2 ends. 25 teams will qualify through Major 2 finals, and then 10 more teams will qualify through the last chance qualifier. The 50 qualifying teams from across the world will be playing in Belgium at the end of September. And yes, I intend on being there and co-streaming like I did at the Summit LAN. When the Summit LAN ended, only 6 teams from North America Central managed to place inside of the top 15 and secure their spots at Global. Peterbot and Pollo nearly completed one of the greatest comebacks in Fortnite history, going from 29th place all the way to 2nd, mainly due to some insane solo clutches from Pollo. But EU ended up on top, with Vico and Malabuka having one of the most consistent performances we've ever seen on LAN. As a duo, Vico and Malabuka didn't take a single tick of damage from Storm Surge, which is extremely impressive. And Vico had the most damage, most eliminations, and most assists in a lobby with the best players in the world. Even without earning a single victory royale, they managed to beat Peterbot and Pollo by 32 points, earning the duo $250,000. Teams like Acorn and Bolt, Sky and Scroll, Shadow and Virgo, and Shark and Teeny all secured their tickets to Belgium. But for everyone else, the pressure immediately started building, and almost overnight we started seeing teams split up. One of the biggest teams that has split is Clix and Higgs. Expectations were high for this team going into the summit, but they ended up coming in 47th place after dropping into the lower bracket. Clix ended up changing his flight and going home immediately after missing out in the lower bracket.
Did you fly back on Sunday?
No, I flew back the second night. Oh yeah, Sunday morning.
Oh, you like changed your flight and everything?
I booked a whole new one. I mean, I was so sad.
I feel that.
I was sad, dude.
I wouldn't want to stay either.
And it wasn't even 24 hours after finals ended that rumors started going around that they were going to split up. And almost instantly, everyone started to wonder if this was Clix and Higgs' last tournament together. Veno and Curve made it through the upper bracket, but on day 3, they were unexpectedly contested and had to change up how they were playing. They ended up finishing in 37th place. And with that underwhelming performance, the stars aligned for Clix to team up with his old duo and former FNCS champion, Veno. Veno moved back to NA from EU, and together they're going to be pushing to qualify for globals through Major 2. Both Clix and Veno have been traveling, so we haven't seen them compete in a tournament on their proper setups yet since they announced they were playing together again. During the First Division Cup Opens, they played day 1 and only got 168 points. They played all of their games with an hour left in the tournament, but Clix was playing from West Coast because he was traveling, and Veno was playing sick from Florida. So they were both on much higher ping and not playing on their usual setups. Higgs did feel some sort of way about it though.
Oh,
When Clix returned back to Dallas, they tried their best to bring it back and qualify for finals. They had a huge day 2, earning 450 points after only having 168 on day 1. But only the top 50 teams went on to finals, and they came short in 65th place. Since Veno is now playing with Clix, Curve needed a teammate and ended up joining Higgs. Higgs and Curve have already proven that they are a solid team. In the First Division Cup, Higgs and Curve were looking very good. They had a first place with 23 elims, second place with 17 elims, and a third place with 21 eliminations. Now, Controller is heavily buffed going into this season, so having a teammate who plays Controller is actually a huge benefit to Higgs. They didn't do as well on day 2, and it's likely they were just W-keying, knowing that they were fine for qualifying the finals because of the day 1 performance. But Clix and Higgs weren't the only duo who split up after the summit. Another surprising breakup came from Bucky and Zen. Unlike Clix and Higgs, they never ended up making it to the LAN to compete. Bucky ended up attending to create content with Aussie antics, but Zen stayed home. When Bucky returned from Germany, he was expecting Zen to immediately start grinding with the new season and wanting to prepare for Major 2. Instead, Zen was on vacation. According to Zen, he figured it was the perfect time to take a break. The new season had just launched and tournaments hadn't even started yet. He wanted to enjoy some time away from the game before the grind really began. But Bucky was feeling like Zen wasn't taking the game as seriously as he was.
Bro, it's not about missing one day of the new season, bro. We have the first Div Cups in 2 days, and you haven't played Fortnite in 24 days. It has nothing to do with missing the start of the new season. It's so much deeper than that, bro. You haven't touched the game in 25 days, bro.
Bucky ended up dropping him on stream and instead offered Cam $10,000 to play with him. And this duo was looking pretty good. Bucky and Cam won their first game of the Division Cup Opens, but that momentum didn't carry on for the rest of the tournament. They barely outplaced Clix and Veno and only had 2 more top 10 placements out of the 11 games they played. And unfortunately on day 2, it didn't go much better. They only got 116 points and played 7 games. It's still extremely early into the season, so we're gonna have to see if this duo actually sticks together or not. And then we have Visuals and Braids. They were actually the longest standing duo in North America. They have played over 4,000 matches together throughout their career. After a solid performance in Major 1 finals, they weren't able to qualify through the lower bracket at LAN. Now Braids is duoing with Booga. Booga wasn't able to qualify for the Summit LAN, but with Braids and his new coach, this might be Booga's best chance at a generational comeback. Another team who underperformed at LAN was Muzz and Sphinx. They ended up splitting, and Muzz is now trying out with Visuals. After Kanata won an FNCS on West, he decided to move back to Central and play with Sphinx. But since he's on vacation, Kanata's old duo Victor V has been playing with Sphinx during their first few tournaments. Victor V is still on the hunt for a teammate, but it looks like Japco from EU is considering to move to compete on NA, so we might end up seeing another NA-EU duo. And now that Arc is no longer banned, we expect him and Victor V to pick things up where they left off, but out of nowhere, Lacey announced that he wanted to make a return to competitive Fortnite. He put out an offer for pros to play with him on NA West, and it was an offer that Arc just couldn't refuse.
$40,000 is equivalent to winning 3 West FNCSs. I'm basically paying Arc to win 3 FNCSs.
Not only would Lacey pay him $40,000, but he would offer him his own setup at the core house and raids to his stream during FNCS weekends. And with that, both Lacey and Stable Ronaldo have returned to Fortnite competitive and plan on competing in FNCS. Lacey is now playing with Arc, and Arc is considered one of the best West players and is often called the Peter Bot of West. Lacey and Arc actually went insane during Division 3. You have to remember, Division 3 players are not the same caliber as Division 1. But they kept that momentum going into day 2 and not only easily qualified with enough points, but they're now back up to Division 1 and they almost qualified for the entire tournament together. Peterbot wanted to grief them with Skittles on West so they didn't get into Division 1, and between the stream snipers and internet issues that Lacey was having, it did almost mess up their tournament. But Lacey did a great job keeping close with Arc and playing more of a support role, allowing Arc to do his thing. And then Stable Ronaldo is playing with Lays, who is a cameraman, but he's apparently pretty good, and honestly, watching some of Ron's clips, he still does have a lot of his skill left. He even went on to solo clutch a win during their tournaments. But Ron's tournament overall didn't go how he wanted because he was playing with no delay, and with stream snipers, Ron actually ended up uninstalling Fortnite as Lays was trying to reboot him in the middle of the tournament.
I can res you.
Just res me real quick.
It's going to be interesting to see if he actually takes competitive seriously again. Ron does have an FNCS win under his belt, but both of these guys haven't really competed since 2023. Aside from new chapters and mini seasons, we've never had a brand new map the way we did this season. Even the POIs that stayed on the map are now remixed, and most of the pros have entirely new drop spots. Taking a look at the best POIs on the map, the most contested drop will absolutely be the Battlewoods. The Battlewoods is massive, and it is a POI with the most loot on the map, so we definitely expect teams to split it just like they did with Battlewood Boulevard. Most of the loot is more heavily on the south side, with one of the buildings having 14 guaranteed chests. It has a mystery door with a random chance of having more chests, a dozen slurp barrels, 6,000 gold, or nothing at all. It can spawn a mythic pistol, and since it's at the center of the map, it makes mid-game rotations much easier. A lot of the teams are going to be contesting South Battlewoods, including Higgs and Curve, Ritual and Agers, and Swizzy and Pixie on EU. Another mid-map POI that's good for rotations is Sinister Strip. Even though it doesn't have nearly as much loot as South Battlewoods, it's still a pretty decent drop. There's an underground vault that gives you a chance at getting a mythic slider and the mythic pistol. It's definitely a smaller POI, but right now Peterbot and Pollo have it uncontested on North America, and Chino and Pablo are also uncontested on EU. Some pros were preferring the Striker Pump over the Chaos Reloader because of the faster fire rate and pullout time, but the Chaos Reloader has actually just gotten vaulted, which leaves just the Striker Pump as the best shotgun to grab right now. The Mythic Striker Pump is the best mythic in the game, and you can only get it at Heatwave Harbor. If you go to the northeast side of Heatwave Harbor, there's a dock where you can start a duck race. The ducks will spawn loot in the water as the race goes on, and there's a 30% chance that the cannon at the finish line will grant you a Mythic Striker Pump, which can headshot for 234 damage. Teams like Focus and Thomas HD will try to hold down this POI uncontested, but on NA, we're probably going to expect Shadow and Virgo to go up against Kanata and Sphinx off spawn. Speaking of contested drops, we're going to see a lot of teams in the snow biome at Lifty Lodge. Lifty Lodge feels less like a POI and more like an entire corner of the map. In the most recent Division Cup finals, we saw 5 teams splitting the POI on NA Central. There are a lot of chests scattered across the snow biome, but it's really easy to navigate with zip lines and launch pads. If you're able to survive on this side of the map, you're going to end up absolutely stacked with gold, which can get you a chug jug at vending machines or 7 sliders, which can be very useful for long rotations around the edge of the map due to the sliders not overheating in water. Clix and Veno are now dropping here at Lifty Lodge, and FNCS Summit Land champions Vico and Malabuka are also dropping here on EU. But they're contested by some of the best off-spawn players in the game, Verdoxy and iDrop. This could be a really interesting back and forth between them, especially since we saw this insane clip from Verdoxy.
Bruh.
Then we have Acorn and Bolts over at Frosted Flats, which is one of the more central POIs on the map. There's a solid amount of loot at Frosted Flats with good positioning and rotation, so it's going to be a great drop for teams like Acorn and Bolts or even Sky and Scroll, who can potentially get back-to-back wins on EU. Shark and Teeny is another EU team with a great chance at winning Major 2, especially since they're uncontested at Calamari Canyon. It has a decent amount of gold and 4 different vending machines to buy loot from, but if they get surprise contested, things could get ugly. Kingling and Craze are in a similar situation. They also qualified to Globals already and have Calamari Canyon uncontested so far. Since neither of these teams are fighting for a spot at Global Championship, whoever decides to contest them will have much more to lose. Some teams that have already qualified for Globals don't really care about the rest of the FNCS season. They're landing at drops that aren't as good. Sunken Shore is one of the worst POIs on the map, and we have both Darman Demas and Golden Ozone both landing there. Flixie and Chap are one of the few global teams landing at Golden Grove. Cooper and Reed decided to swap their drop from Frosted Flats over to Cluster Coast, which lets Acorn and Bolts have Frosted completely uncontested. And then Syaz and Scary aren't even landing at a named POI. They're landing at a drop outside of Frosted Flats and Golden Grove. With the new map, we have a refreshed loot pool. Some items were vaulted, there's a whole new meta, but not as drastic of a change as a whole new chapter. Last season, Epic introduced a new Ground Rush Skydive mechanic that lets you cut your glider and free fall to your drop spot. At first, this was only in Zero build, but now with this new season launch, Epic has added it to all the modes, including competitive. This is a huge change for off-spawn fights, and some players are still getting used to it. The ARs this season are just not very strong overall. After the first evaluation cup of the season, it was very clear that the Chaos Exploder rifle was way too overpowered. Luckily, it went through 2 different nerfs in the first week of the season, and it's now basically just for surge tags. The Surgical Burst rifle is also used for surge tags, but it's hard to use in box fights, and it's not as accurate as the burst rifles we've seen in the past. Most pros prefer to have a Ranger pistol or Stinger SMG as their spray weapon. The Iron Pump shotgun was vaulted and replaced by the Striker Pump, which had a decent buff to damage and pullout time, including fire rate. A lot of pros were upset to see the Chaos Reloader shotgun still in the loot pool coming into the new season, but Epic actually listened and vaulted it after their feedback. The other 2 shotguns in the loot pool are the Maven and the Extending Focus shotgun, which are not that great in competitive. As far as mobility goes, the Overdrive grenades are still going to be used the most by pros, especially for duo rotations. The 7 slider boots are nearly impossible to chase, but they can be a bit clunky to use, so they're going to be much more popular in solo victory cups. They're good for longer rotations and storms since you can heal while using them, and they don't overheat in water. So the teams dropping at the edge of the map are probably going to use these a lot more. When most people think of big shifts in the meta, they're going to be talking about overpowered weapons, but there were 2 healing items that were vaulted that will definitely change how tournaments are played. Last season, it seemed like any team that had an Overdrive and Flowberry Mist Grenade at the end game would challenge height. The hipfire accuracy of the Thunderburst SMG also made it really easy to fly up and still hit your shots. But now that the Flowberry grenades and the Thunderburst SMG are vaulted, taking height is going to take a lot more effort. This will definitely benefit height-dominated teams and IGLs like Queasy and Cammy. Epic Games spoiled us with a ton of healing items last season. Teams might be spending less time in the storm since Slapperoni pizzas are vaulted. Chug Jugs are now the most valuable healing item, which makes the vending machines much more powerful this season. It may be a bit hard for teams to get surge tags since there's not as much in the loot pool that's accurate from long range, so Storm Surge could be even more chaotic than it already was. The ideal loadout most pros will be going for is a Chug Jug, the 7 sliders for longer rotates or Overdrive grenades for endgame rotations, a Stinger SMG or a Ranger pistol as a spray weapon, and the Striker shotgun. A lot of players will use their 5th slot for either more heals or extra mobility. This new meta will benefit the aggressive playstyle teams a lot more. We're expecting to have another FNCS Pro-Am before the end of the year, but it hasn't officially been announced yet. Fortnite came into Boop's stream and let everyone know it will be during the summer, but different this time. It was great to see all the content creators and pros at the last Pro-Am, so I'm very excited to see how Epic does it this time. And then the Esports World Cup will happen in August in Paris, but I'll cover the reload teams and who will be competing at the World Cup in a different video. And then we have the FNCS Globals in September. There are 25 global spots up for grabs in the Major 2 finals, starting with opens on July 18th and the finals on August 1st. Of those 25 spots, 9 of them will qualify from EU, 6 from North America Central, and 2 from each of the other regions. Then they'll have more opportunities to qualify through the last chance qualifiers. Those will begin on August 14th and determine the last 10 spots for globals. EU will get 3 teams to advance from the last chance qualifiers, NA Central will get 2, and all the other regions will get 1. The $2 million global championship will be in Antwerp, Belgium, and I will be attending. I filmed the vlog while I was in Germany for the Summit LAN, and I plan to record more of the Fortnite LANs as they happen, so keep an eye out for that. Also keep in mind, with competitive, anything can change, and although these duos are playing together right now, there's still a lot of time between now and the finals for things to change up. So I'll definitely do another video closer to finals to give you guys all of the updates and changes that eventually happen. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.